Oh, like clockwork. There he is. Yes, I'm getting this. I worry about technology, but I never was great at technology. You were always ahead of the curve with that sort of stuff. I think you actually sorted me out with my first phone, my first iPhone. That's how good you were. I suck at it. I'm doing all right
I
now at the
think I
moment,
got
aren't I? I'm doing okay.
you're doing really well. And I watched it Saturday night. I think I got your first SIM card, so you're going all right. You come leaps and bounds.
Oh, mate, it is so good to see you, pal. We don't see enough of each other, obviously, because you're in a different state now. Where are you? To tell everybody, not exactly where you are, because they might come around, and we don't want that. Where are you? Where are you now in the world?
If they want to come, they can come play golf.
Yeah,
I live on the Gold Coast, so
nice.
yeah, I've been up here, as you know. The end of '08 came up here. Fell in love with the place. I originally came up here for a holiday in 2001, I think. Just fell in love with the place. Got some wonderful friends up here, and yeah, it was the place I wanted to stay, and ended up coming. So it's been great.
Mate, when I see your face, I see ooze, I see wowie. It just transports me back to a time, to places and to things that we can't discuss really on this podcast. But there are things that we certainly can discuss. We'll
Oh,
try to.
there it is.
We'll go as close to the edge as we possibly can, my friend. But they were some heady times, weren't they, when we came together in 1998 for our
Yeah.
first real year together. Obviously, I was there in 97, but I was a kid. Then you come across. We had this really awesome team and this amazing 1998 season. Let's talk about that straight away. Coming from Fremantle, because everybody knows you were drafted to Fremantle, number one draft pick from Frankston way, and then and then it slightly gets worse in Fremantle, from Frankston to Fremantle, slightly worse. Tell me about that, and then coming to Melbourne.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, it was obviously a very exciting time for me and the family. Get drafted first, but Freo, but didn't pan out that way. I enjoyed the footy over there, but yeah, when I came back to Melbourne, it was totally different. I wanted to play footy in Melbourne, wanted to play at the MCG, and yeah, and the D's come off a pretty ordinary year in '97, but
Mm,
new coaching staff, new players. It was place was a buzz when we first started training,
mm.
and it was great fun. And you think about the legends that we had there: Gary Lyon, Todd Viney, Jim Stynes, the Lovetts, Stephen Tingo. The list goes on. I mean,
Yeah,
you were living with Stinger and Hopgood and all that sort of stuff,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then I moved in with Nita, and we were just around the corner. But yeah, it was a wonderful start to my career at Melbourne, especially that '98 season.
Yeah, I actually drove past Southland not long ago, and I looked at that. Well, I think it's TGI Fridays now. Was it
Oh yes,
saloon or something like that was called? I can't remember, but we
it
were.
was a saloon, but it went to the TGI Fridays. But we used to go there every Thursday night. Remember,
Yes,
we
we
watch
did.
what we had dinner, and then we'll go and watch a movie.
Not always on game day weeks did we go on a Thursday. Not always. We were pretty committed. Like, we were serious footballers. Would only go every second week out on a Thursday night.
Yeah, only every second Thursday night. But no, that was a regular catch up.
Yeah.
We had the cafe across the street in Junction Oval there. We had our regulars. It was really good. It
Yeah,
was
we
great fun.
did. We did. It felt like when you got to Melbourne in 1998, there was this urgency of hitting the ground running, right? We've got this superstar ruckman of the competition, and don't be bashful because that's exactly what you were. And we were a club, Melbourne, who had been terrible for a long time, and nobody wanted to come and play for Melbourne. All of a sudden, you come across, we get Neil Danaher, and there was this renewed vigour, wasn't there? It's what we have now as a club, isn't it? We've got guys. We're a destination club now. Something that we struggled to be over your time at the Melbourne Football Club, wasn't it? What made you come to Melbourne first?
Yeah.
What was the catalyst? And then again, our ups and downs. Do you have any ideas as to why we weren't quite there?
No, I can't pinpoint the ups and downs. There certainly was, and '98, then '99 were down, 2000 were up, 2001 were down. I can't pinpoint that. Probably to do with injuries and stuff, but
Hmm.
yeah, it certainly is a destination place to go now. There's no question about that. But yeah, I think it was for me to go to Melbourne. There was a lot of links. It was three clubs. It was Richmond, Collingwood, and Melbourne. But I think that the journey for the Melbourne Footy Club for me started early in '97. But there's a lot of touch points. Gary Lyon played a significant role in that. I remember coming back during that year, and I had a high car sitting for me at the airport.
Hmm.
That was one of my breaks, and it was all paid by was all sorted by Gary Lyon. So just a few touch points that they knew that was going. Cameron Swab drafted me to Fremantle, became the draft recruiting officer at Melbourne. Neil was my assistant coach at Freo, so that made it a bit easy. And Hutchie was my junior coach. So and he was appointed assistant coach. So there's a lot of things that fell into place, and it wasn't to do with the fact that we only won 4 games in '97. It was to do with the personnel and where the club was going and the selling of the future. And of course, '98 we played off in a prelim. So I guess going with my gut feelings, that's where it was.
And how much of it was it Jim Stynes as well? Because I'm a forward, right? So I grew up watching forwards and how they moved and how they went about it. So no doubt you, as a ruckman, being thrust into the ruck position from an early age, would have watched ruckmen and how they went about it. Surely you would have watched Jim Stynes. And then when you get to Melbourne, you learn so much from the great man, don't you?
Oh, yeah. It was a huge. It was part of the decision, of course, to be there because Jim was going into his last couple of years, so it was an opportunity for me to take over that mantle and become that number 1 draft pick. But a lot of the ruckmen, you think about all the ruckmen that Jim played against, the Damien Moncrief, the Sean Wrens, the Scotty Wines, they played behind the ball. They're the big dinosaurs. They played behind the ball. Jim Stynes is very similar to me, and I learned a lot off him because you go through if they're going to stay behind the ball, I'll just go through the midfield and get my possessions and kick it over their head. So you actually drag them out of the back line. So I learned a lot from Jim, and I credit a lot of my success to him. And then he was the ruck coach my ruck coach in 2000. So there's a great history there. And I always love. I've interviewed Max Gawn a few times on radio, and I love the thing that he talks about the journey of ruckman through the Melbourne Footy Club, and he always reverts back to that. Jim Stynes taught me, then I taught Mark Jamar taught Max Gawn. So I love how he always has that synergy, and he always has that. Because you think of the last 2 weeks I've been asked a lot about ruckman and whether I've spoken to Max Gawn, and that's one of the things that he always says, and I really appreciate that.
And look, Max plays differently to you again because you are such a mobile sort of fella and using your leap, whereas Max is more of that and he's got the height and he doesn't necessarily jump as much as you did. That game that he played last week against the Cats was something else, wasn't it? It was just, for me, wow.
That's one of the best, that is arguably the best finals performance by ruckman I've ever seen. I can't recall a better game in a final by ruckman, and just his way to second efforts. That one he kicked outside forward 50. I think it was in the third quarter. Petrarca got. He was just mobile, and he's been like that all the time. It was a sensational game from him, and big advantage this week. He's playing against his former teammate Steph Martin. So I think the midfield matches up really, really solid. You think about Liberatore on Jack Viney, but I think the ruck is where we've got the big advantage.
Oh, that middle is going to be a clash of the Titans. I cannot wait to watch this game. Obviously they had some battles this year. It seems like it was just a bit of a warm up. They're both teams at their best at the moment. It's just going to go off, come bounce down over there in the West on Saturday. Now, Whitey, enough about the current day team because it's great and everything. We're on to talk about the Demons. In 2000, of course, we played in the grand final, and you, because people want to see you, they want to hear about, and they want to know more about you. And I know a lot about you. I'm not going to give too much away. All right, I promise. I promise I'm not going to do that. But let's start things off with the protein shake regime. The routine that you used to go into was you were trying to be professional. I get it. You wanted to put a bit of weight on and all that sort of stuff. So you got into the protein shakes, right? Who told you to do that firstly? Was that just something you did yourself?
No, I had a personal trainer in Balaclava. He owned his gym. Referred to me through a friend, but I had a personal trainer outside of our actual training that we had with our fitness staff and stuff. And he got me on the protein shakes.
Sometimes I wish he didn't get
I know where you. I know.
Yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Whitey had a high protein diet, and it certainly had an effect on his. It took a toll on his stomach and other regions of his body, which we all had to suffer through. But anyway, that's not the point of this story.
Especially in the gym, yeah.
Let me tell you this story, right? Talk about the preparation for a game.
This
of
is
football.
my all-time.
You knew where I was going with this.
Favorite.
Yeah, you knew where I was going with this. Now, this had already happened once before, and I'll tell you the second story. But the first one, but the second one's funnier, I reckon. I'm sitting after a training session, and we're knackered. After every time, those were brutal sessions we used to do. And I'm sitting in the lounge room at David Neitz's house, right? David Neitz's house has this kitchen down, just a little bit down the hallway, and I'm in the lounge room. You can't see what's going on in the kitchen. You get up from your seat and you go down into the kitchen, and you start preparing your old protein shake. I knew you were doing it because I could hear the old prep going on in there. Like, he's trying to be Mr. Professional again. And they used to have those protein shakes with the little spiral metal things that go in there, and you can hear the chick inside the cup, right? Well,
I'm crying already. This is the best. Yeah,
he goes, I hear 5 little chick before I hear this poof. Old Jeffrey White forgets to screw on the lid, and the protein shake goes everywhere. Now, we've all made mistakes like that in the past. We've all made mistakes. I love it when
you tell the story. You tell it so good. It's so good.
And I walk around the corner, and there's Whitey covered in brown powder, and I just can see his eye slits and a wet mouth. And I reckon that was before you had...
I love it when you tell it. I love it when you tell that story.
Anyway, fast forward probably about 2 months. We're driving to Geelong for a game of football. Pretty good game of football, actually, if I remember. And
yes,
we're driving down in your green Discovery that you used to drive. And I get picked up by Whitey at Stinger's. I live around the corner at Stinger's house. So Whitey, I'll pick you up. We'll go to Geelong and play the Cats. No worries, mate. Halfway down the highway to Geelong, 110 clicks down there, breaking the speed limit, of course. Whitey reaches over the back, out of the bag, pulls out the old protein shake, makes sure it's screwed on all right. It exploded again in the car. Now, in a closing space, we
had to pull over.
We couldn't see anything because there was powder everywhere. Like the windscreen was covered. So he's doing the old across the highway down the way to Geelong.
No, you said to me it was like Ace Ventura. You know, when he got out of
pull out the window to see what was going on to stop the car. We are both covered in chocolate protein shake in our suits, in our beautiful suits.
No, we're wearing what was it, suits or tracksuit?
Oh, might have been trackies. Oh, yeah, that's right. We were allowed to wear trackies.
Oh, my God.
Never again was
and then I. And then how many did you kick that day?
Only 7, but I could have kicked 10. So anyway, we pulled over, we cleaned ourselves up, and we got ourselves going, and I made sure that I never was in your vicinity ever again while you were shaking up the front. Oh. What was wrong with you, mate? Why couldn't you do it? Don't know.
Well, it just had, you had to secure the lid, and there was obviously a few times there, but I found out that it actually had a lot of split because I put it in the dishwasher. It had sort of faded away. So, oh my God, I love it when you tell that story. It's so funny. You tell it so good.
Oh
my God. There you go. That's the reset.
Good times, mate.
Right.
And we've been talking a lot about the similarities between the team now and the team then in 2000. What do you see? I mean, obviously it's a good balance of age we've got in our team at the moment. Same thing in 2000, but we were also very young. And they say you got to lose one to win one. You know, the team at the moment, they've lost a few big ones along the way. Of West Coast Eagles a couple of years ago. Are they ready? Are they ready now, mate, like we probably weren't in 2000?
Yeah, they're certainly ready. I think this is the best Melbourne side I've ever seen. Yeah. No disrespect to the sides that we played, but the balance. And you look at the losses they've had this year. They haven't lost by much. I mean, I think the biggest loss was 20 points to the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
And they've been in it. I think the most impressive part that I've seen, and I have to credit our former teammate Adam Muse, just the defensive side.
Yeah.
The off-ball pressure. They're not going 2-1. They're going very balanced, and they're very clean below the knees. So, that's the Bulldogs. They play a very similar style of footy as well. But just it's exciting to watch. They're moving the ball extremely quick, and I think that we had momentum back in 2000, but we're coming up against a formidable side. Yeah. I feel that. We're ready this year. This is our time. Extremely excited and can't wait for Saturday.
100%. You lived with Nita. Now, give us something about Nita. He wasn't the cleanest guy, was he? Not necessarily the cleanest.
He would always bring his grandma into clean, so
Yeah.
she came every Friday. So we had a cleaner there. No, he was great to live with, Nita. He was. It was a wonderful opportunity for me because I was young, coming to the footy club. I wanted to get to know people, and he just welcomed me with open arms, which is great. And the best thing about it too was that you guys were just around the corner, so I had the opportunity to get to know you guys and stuff like that. So
yeah,
but no, he's like a big brother to me. I speak to him a lot, as you do well. But even though I'm living up here, he's a big brother to me.
yeah. He actually paid his mum and his grandmother, I think, to come and clean his house. $7 a day. Went for a full day's work.
He'd leave it was change out of his car. He'd just leave it on. Yeah.
Oh, Nita.
Leave it on the dining room table.
Oh, Nita, you love him as a supporter. You watched him on the ground and thought this guy is an absolute star, could do anything. He was also he used to make a lot of mistakes too, as you and I know. What about the time he comes home from training, pulls his car into the carport, goes in underneath, gets out of the car, goes inside, makes dinner, goes to bed, goes down in the morning, opens up the door to the garage, car's still going. He nearly gassed himself. He didn't turn his car off all night.
The amount of stuff that Nita did in our time was just so funny.
Yes.
Just hilarious.
Oh, that was good.
Just common sense stuff that he just think that I just wouldn't get right.
No, not at all. Mate, toughest opponent, I think is a great question. It's an old question. Everyone always gets it, but it's one of the best questions you can get because I think we've all got an idea of who's a good player, but what was a good player from a good player? So you're out there against the Sean Wrens of the world, superstar ruckmans. You mentioned Monkey. Who was your toughest?
The ones that were able to get around the ground, they were very mobile. Those types of guys, quite a challenge because they knew that they wanted to, get on the front foot. So, but I'd have to say it was definitely Dean Cox. He was good in the air. He could jump and he could use the ball really well. So.
Absolute superstar, Coxie. Big Cox, as they used to call him. Used to love that one. Now, Whitey, that's been an awesome trip down memory lane, mate. But let's talk about what you're doing now. You've got three boys. And I do want to touch on your little health scare that you had not long ago. I think it'd be remiss of me not to remind people if they knew and if they didn't know, you had a little bit of a health scare and you're about promoting that particular area in health. So the three kids, obviously, first, and then talk to us about your health.
Yeah, three boys, yeah. So we got Kalani, who's Kalani and twins, who are 10, identical twin boys. So it keeps me busy. I look after them full time. So it's the full house. Kalani's leaps like 6'3" at 14. So he's certainly very tall. He's got all the attributes there. Health wise, which was a bit was certainly not what I expected. But everyone's born with a hole in their heart, and I was actually, and it closes over within first 3 to 6 months. And mine didn't. So went through the whole career with a whole lot and. Suffered a stroke in 2017, unfortunately. So, but was lucky to overcome and not have any side effects. And I think with the fitness from football, I was able to fight it. So, had to have heart surgery to fix the hole. I was just very grateful of the fact that they were able to locate that because a lot of people have strokes and they're not aware of how it's actually happened. So, I was just really lucky that we were able to find that and to have heart surgery, and I haven't. So it's been thankful of that, but it's certainly a big scare, and it puts everything in perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Your boy, mate, the way he plays his footy, because here's a fact of Jeff White's football ability, guys. When I led to Jeff White, I knew I was going to get smacked on the chest real hard. He was one of the best kicks. You were a sensational kick, mate, and obviously we knew what you could do in the marking contest and your leaping and ruck contest stuff. But your kicking was probably the best part of your game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love the kicking. I worked at when I first went to Freo, I had a little bit of a loop to my kick. So the ruck coach I had over there, Percy Johnson, just worked tirelessly on that. And I think being a mobile ruckman, I think back in those days it was almost like the ruckman gets it, has to hand pass. And I thought, well, why can't I be another midfielder? Why can't I use the ball? Why can't I be that connector? So I really worked hard on the kicking skills, both feet. And that was one thing I really love. I could actually really good at picking, getting the ball and actually putting my teammate in the space that was available. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. I love kicking to you guys on the forward line. It was tapping the ruck was a craft that I really loved and really enjoyed.
Anita and I used to salivate. We had Adam Uze and Jeff White and Trav Johnson just rolling onto their preferred, and we just knew we were going to get one right in the sternum. It was just brilliant. So they were the days, mate. Lastly, before I let you go, Whitey, the team's about to take the field this weekend. Who needs to play well? Who needs to play the best for us to get over the line? I mean, of course, we all need to play well, but who needs to really rise?
I think we need to have that defensive mindset across the middle. We have to force them to kick. I know when we played them early in the year, you'd tell straight away. Once we were forcing them on our half-forward line, their half-back line, to kick it and not use their hands and cut us up, that's when I knew we had them. The game later in the year, when they were able to get their hands going, Bontempelli and McRae and these types of players, they're able to use the ball and cut our defence out. And that Lever and May are very strong in the air when they're going forward. So, but I think the big loss for them is going to be Bruce. He was a great forward, really straightened them up. So, but I think that defensive structure on our half forward line is really critical, I reckon. Obviously, I like the way that we've got, Brayshaw's able to cut it off, and we've got Ed on the wing to separate. So, but I think that's the key for us.
Yeah, very underrated, both of those players, Ed and Angus. I know a lot of people saying he doesn't get a lot of the ball, totally. Angus, but he does sometimes. Yep. But they love him in the team because of his defensive work rate and just the disruption he puts in. So, yeah, I agree with all of that you're saying there. It's all about the midfield and being defensive. Making it a little bit easier for Lever and May to cut those passes off, and we're going to be okay. Big Max, of course, we know the ruckman is one of the most important out on the field, and not just because you're talking to me right now. It's because it's true.
That's right.
And I tell you what, mate, the George Clooney looks good on you, pal. I'm loving it. The salt and pepper, black and white, looking sexy, my friend.
There you go. Thank you.
Jeffrey White, you're a favorite.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're a favourite amongst the Melbourne of our vintage supporters of our vintage, mate. They always talked about you last couple of weeks. We want Jeff White on the show. I've delivered. You're delivered. Great to see you, pal.
Now you're here. I'm here. You too, mate. Well done. Thanks for that. And go to the D's this week. Say all the fans. Let's cheer loud for this week.
Good on you, Whitey. Go well, pal. Talk to you soon.
See you, mate.